Hi everyone to Super Full Stack YouTube channel, and in today's video I want to talk about specifications and spec-driven design that is becoming more and more important in the era of building software with AI. I've been in software engineering for 15 years and I've been running different teams in different domains, projects of different size, and I think the fact that LLMs can now spit out code at insane volumes and speeds changes a lot the role of software engineers in 2026, and I think we're turning more into engineers rather than coders, which I personally like a lot. So let's talk about specifications. Before the era of LLM, every single line of code and every single piece of software that you ever used has been handwritten, and now that's changing. But for product managers and product owners, the ways to describe how software should work to developers has been evolving and changing all the time, but it's been a mix of different specifications, documentation, design specs, and etc. That changes a lot when we start working with LLMs, because now these specs needs to be read by LLM. And you can see this with GitHub. For example, you create a GitHub issue for existing project and you get GitHub agent to create you a PR for that issue. Well, that's good when you're talking about one small increment. I think we should be expanding that setup where software becomes just a one big specification instead of one big code base, because code base itself becomes less relevant, right? Software is replicable, code is disposable, and LLMs are becoming so good at writing large amounts of code that you can practically recreate your stack, you can recreate your software from scratch, in a matter of couple hours, and that couple hours, is on the trajectory to become minutes. So I think maintaining a holistic end-to-end spec for your software will become more and more important for software engineering jobs. So as a skill, I think focusing on writing a good spec that can be consumed by different LLMs is the right skill to develop. Now, in this video, I want to show you how I built a small spec for a small project from ground up, and how I get Claude Code to just build something end-to-end using that spec, and how quickly and easily that is and how much time that saves. So imagine to what scale you can grow your skills and your software development techniques if you just start writing a good specs. So let's jump into that. All right, so let's get going. I opened VS Code in a new folder. We will be building a project called Prompts Bay today. I did not invent this myself. I was inspired by this website that I randomly saw on X. I think someone vibe coded it and just randomly published online, because it's very standard but also not very thought through, and not everything here even works, emojis here and things like that. But this is a library for prompts. I think let's try to recreate this in a very short period of time again. There are categories, there are prompts, and then in every prompt there are some tags, variables to customize, use cases, and then the prompt itself with a big copy prompt button. Then there is a Hugging Face integration, which we don't need, and some pro tips. Well, this looks nice. Let's try something. There's a search bar here. If I search for code, I don't think search here even works, but it tells me that someone was just trying to vibe code this. All right, so there's this website. We will be building something similar. So I have created a new file called initial spec, and in the overview I will say that this project name is Prompts Bay. Create an implementation plan to build a website similar to. So here's my workflow. I start with an initial overview, and this is like a random order, just like my way of describing what I try to build. I have 3 sections here: an overview, use cases, and tech requirements. Overview is really just like free-form text. I'm cloning this. Color schema should be white with anthracite. Modern slick view. There will be categories with prompts in every category. User can sign up with Google or X. In every category, there will be a list of prompts sorted by upvotes. Users can upvote when they're logged in. I would also add that I don't want Hugging Face integration. Yeah, use cases. Open the website, go to categories, find specific category, open category, see list of prompts ordered by upvotes, open the prompts page, see comments, post comment, copy prompt text to clipboard, copy prompt URL. What if we do open this in new chat GPT session, open this in Claude. Use case number 2 is that when I click sign in, choose Google or X, complete sign in, there's no dedicated sign up step. And use case 3 is that I can create and publish my own prompt. From a tech requirements, I want a TypeScript, Next.js app, deployment to Vercel, Stitch for authentication with these 3 env variables that I already placed in .env. Prisma 7 is ORM. Database with Postgres connection and var is also in .env. PG adapter needed, .env already created in project root. So this is my initial spec. What I want to do next is I open a terminal and I go to prompts bay and I initiate my Claude. Well, something I want to highlight here. This is my Claude, and the Claude has 2 settings files. The first file is experimental agent teams set to true. And this is the latest feature from Claude that I've been using a lot. It parallels the implementation and speeds it up quite a bit. And the other here is allow list for the tools. So when I'm building something from scratch, I actually allow it to do, just go wild west. Bash, read, edit, write, web fetch, web search. I don't want it to prompt me for every step it makes. So these 2 settings files, I removed something I didn't need there, .env and initial spec. And now let's go to the terminal, initiate Claude and command line. And yeah, I like this a lot. I like this command line a lot, although people have different opinions about it. But what I want to do here, I wanted to please read initial spec.md and create an implementation plan needed. So what it will do here is that it will read my spec, it will go fetch the website, and it will actually try to create something that fits my requirements. While it's thinking, I want to highlight that I'm using Opus 4.6 and I have Claude Max subscription. Yes, this is a $200 subscription that I've been using, every day. I rarely hit the limit, which tells you that I don't use it that much really, but I do make some changes and I do write code here on a daily basis. And truth to be told, Claude Code had a big jump in December of 25. This is when Opus was launched, Opus 4.5. That was a breakthrough. Many people saw it. The quality of the output went up significantly, and there were times when I was working with it and it was creating something. I was like, holy moly, this is actually working. This is actually great. So I hope in this video, when we finish, you will have a similar holy moly moment. There are some things to know when working with Claude Code. The limits on your subscriptions is $20 limit, doesn't really get you far. Yeah, you can switch to different models. There's Sonnet. You can downgrade your model to a previous version, but you want to be on the top of the food chain per se. You want to use latest and greatest, and that's why I went to Pro Max, and from my Cursor $20 Cursor subscription to a $200 Claude Code subscription, I actually see a 10x value. So as you can see, my prompt has been processed right now. It did fetch the website. It did enter plan mode. So let's continue looking at it. As you can see, there's no design step here. I'm not asking it to create a UI UX design, and I think for most projects you actually don't need a professional UI UX design. At least if you're a solo builder or you're a small team, you're actually delivering value not through a UI UX, you're delivering value through functionality. But Figma has an MCP server, and if you build a really nice looking design in Figma, or Figma also has a agent, if you use agent in Figma to create your design first and then pull it into Claude Code, you will also have a really good result. Now I'm expecting a nice thorough implementation plan from Claude as it finishes here, and I've seen sometimes that Claude becomes lazy or it becomes unmotivated. This is really fascinating because LLMs don't necessarily need to have a mood, or they're not invented to have mood or soul, but as you interact with it, sometimes you're like, wait a minute, yesterday I asked you exactly the same thing and you did a much better job, you were more responsible. And I caught Claude a few times when I was working with something and it didn't implement something according to my spec, and I pointed it to Claude, and it was like, yeah, I cut corners. It's like, cut corners, like, you're not your machine, you're supposed to do exactly what I'm asking you to do. I think this product has been actively developed under the hood, and even when it says 4.6, you're using 4.6, you're not using the same 4.6 all the time. I think they are experimenting, and there's no such thing as a stable version here. There's new stable version every week, every other week. I mentioned that I had a lot of issues with Claude when they had a hackathon in San Francisco. I think the part of their team went to that hackathon, and many people also used Opus during that hackathon, and that explains why I could have some issues. I don't know, that's just my theory, but it takes some time for Claude to plan. You'll see that this prompt will finish in 5 minutes. We could have generated something clickable in Cursor within 5 minutes, but spec-driven development is not about quickly outputting code. Spec-driven development is to actually create a documentation. And yeah, don't judge me. This is not documentation. This is just a seed. This is the first baby step. And what I'm trying to show here is that you need to use AI to create a more thorough spec, because you're not going to write thousands of lines of spec. It will take you days and days and days, when machine can help you do it much quicker. So we already have a result here, which is quite long, and it jumps into implementation right ahead, but I wanted to write this plan to MD file in root, because I want to review it first before jumping into the implementation. I want to see what it did, how it turned 27 lines of my spec with a couple white lines even into a proper specification. And as you expand your software, if you started with something smaller, you just keep adding. What's important to do is to maintain your spec up to date. So instead of talking to Claude or talking to any other agent, hey, can you fix this bug or address this issue, you will lose that context the moment you close your session with corresponding agent. So instead, what you want to do is you want to create another sections here. You want to create a feedback file. You want to create bugs v1 file of bugs February 22 list, and then get Claude to work against that list and mark the things done in that list, instead of just talking to it here in chat. Because really what you're building and what the result of what you're building isn't the code anymore. It's the set of instructions that you provided LLM with. And when there's Opus 4.7 or 5.0, you get the same list of requirements and you feed it to a better model. And the result you're getting can surprisingly be better, can be significantly better. So instead of upgrading your product, the tool that you built 6 months ago or 3 months ago, 3 months from now or 6 months from now, you can just regenerate it if you use the same spec. And the bugs you find, the feedback you give to Claude in this session, if you keep it in the file later on, you can make sure that the same mistakes were not repeated. So let's see what it did. Prompts bay, implementation plan. So there's a context. We're building a sharing discovery platform with categories. It already highlighted to me that Stitch does not support Twitter or X. So we will need to provide an option here. Oh, it actually suggested me to use next auth instead. The open source authentication for Next.js. Yeah, it's possible. But let's continue. Database schema, Prisma 7, and look at already created models, user category prompt tag, menu to menu with prompts, comment, self-referential parent ID, upvote. Yeah, okay. Created routes, I'm fine with that. Ausflow with Google. And then implementation phases. So implementation phases are important for Claude specifically to be able to parallel things. So there's like step 1 to scaffold the app and initiate a database. And then there is some theme and base layout work. And then there are pages. And then on top of them, there's authentication and then the features. It will actually do some of these things in parallel. And the Claude main thread will act as a team lead while others act as agents, and this is one of the most powerful tools of Claude. And there was this third-party tool called Claude Swarms, which they basically adopted and added it to Claude and made it a native piece of Claude. Key decisions and verification. Well, what I'm not showing here, this is not a masterclass for how to use Claude Code, because to make this experience even better, you need a certain set of skill files to be initiated here, and then you could create another sub-agent, maybe 2 sub-agents. One of them would be a tester and would run the software in the browser. But this is a crash course on how to write specs, and I actually like this spec quite a bit. It's pretty good. I want to give it some feedback about it. So what I want to do is let's remove X from aus methods, stick with Stitch since I already have the environment variables. I don't see much on UI UX. Can you improve implementation plan to have UI UX details? So you can spend hours working with a spec, and it will actually save you quite a bit in tokens, and that's maybe why I don't hit daily limit, because I actually spend more time working with specs than I spend working with writing code, because it takes much more time and tokens back and forth between agent and the cloud and the LLM and the cloud to generate working software. I think it actually tries to copy more of UI UX from AI Open Library. So I want to reminding you that color schema should be white, which is actually similar to what they had in AI prompts library. Now, while it's thinking and then marinating, as it says here, writing spec from ground up is one approach, it's one job, but we don't live in silos, right? We live in the world where we have projects that are live, we have software that's been out there for years and years and years. Another important skill to grow, another important skill to develop is to document your existing software and do a reverse engineering of your code base into a specification. And that's not a simple task. This is where knowledge of the platform comes in. And I would not be able to come into a random project and just reverse engineer it into a good spec, although the spec that I can generate with Claude and Codex would be pretty thorough, because you can get multiple agents to work on generating that spec, comparing it against the code base, even have a QA agent to run the local environment and click through different sections and make sure that functionality is the way LLM understood it. And I think that has the biggest potential in our space. Reverse engineering our handwritten code bases into specs so that you can generate a better version of it with LLM is how we create Web 4.0, how we create another generation of apps where we take all the know-hows, all the knowledge, all the wisdom in different domains and different spaces and turn it into a software of next generation. The software that just works faster, works better. Every tech lead would have a billion ideas of how he would do things differently. If you reverse engineer your code into a spec and then change the tech details and regenerate, you can actually see if your ideas made sense and if your ideas make your software better. And I'm sure every tech lead, every CTO knows how to make his platform better. All right, it finished with the implementation plan. This is the diff. Added full UI UX design system section. It even did wireframes. Wow. Mobile specific patterns for 80% mobile usage. Micro interactions, loading and empty specification. Now let's see. This is exciting. So color palette, typography, spacing and layout, component styles, page by page UI UX specification, sign in, yeah. Actually, this looks solid. Category card, yeah, I love it. I want to get to building. Wow. I think you guys should like this too. What this shows me is that, there's no way you can write such prompt just yourself. It's just not possible. This implementation plan is already 600 lines, and it has some deep details that now you can review and you keep iterating here. You can change content here directly. You can take this implementation plan to another model. And now let's get to building. Now let's implement everything using Teams. Now this step I will scroll to the end because this will take time. I believe this will take another 10 to 15 minutes, and we already spent a good 10 minutes writing a spec, so I want to fast forward into what it built. Just wanted to have a quick pause here to show this little magic. So it did pick up my plan as I ran it. It read everything, reread everything, and then identified phases, just the whole thing. I approved the plant here, and now as you can see in Teams, it started phase 1 itself. So it created next app. You can see on the left here, it already started generating files. As it kept working, at some point it generated a bunch of code, and now it broke down everything into steps. It's still doing phase 1 itself, but then it knows which phase blocks or is blocked by what other phase. So as soon as it finishes phase 1, it will go into phase 2, but when both are done, this will be built by another agent, and this will be built by another agent, and this will be agent number 3. And I think at the end it will just complete the whole thing itself. It's a very simple exercise to break down work, but it's just magical how it does it, you know, without human intervention. All right, so we're slowly approaching the end of build. You can see here, these are all the agents that Claude spun up for the task to be completed. You can see tags of how different phases were built by different agents. There were 3, let's see, all dependencies are met, assigned, completed, shutting down the 3 idle agents. I will do a build check once task number 6 is done. All right, so we almost there. Let's see what was generated here. It's a typical Next.js stack. You have an app with API with different routes, authentication, categories, and pages. Yeah, nothing crazy. Prisma schema. What I expect from it is that once it's completed, it should run the migration, run build, run Prisma migration, seed data into the database, and yeah. You can see it took it 10 minutes, so we spent roughly 10 to 15 minutes creating a plan, and then another 10 minutes for the implementation. And as a result, we have a bunch of code that we will be verifying quite soon. It already started to do the build. I think after the build it will do the validation. Yeah, I think it identified some Stitch errors. Well, Stitch is not the most popular OS library out there, and I've been using it quite extensively because it's pretty cheap, it's very stable, and I like it. And LLMs are slowly getting to know it because I build more and more things with Stitch. So let's keep building with Stitch, at least for the sake of these proof of concepts. And I think we're closing in on the result. Yeah, and we'll try to rebuild. Let's see what it does. Yeah, still finding some issues, but it's fully on autopilot. As you can see, I'm not touching the code comparing to the previous couple videos when we did step-by-step iteration through a chat here. You know, if this result is the same as we get through interaction with AI over many steps, I think this actually works better, because this will create more code and will generate results at a bigger volume than it will through chat. And you can see it keeps making some changes. So once all the agents completed, the main agent picked up the plan and is doing the verification. It should do the compilation verification. We did TypeScript, so there's a TypeScript compilation step, and then yeah, you can see it identified that database migrations were not applied. It will try to apply them right now without even asking me. So in the meantime, we will go to Prisma to see, you know, the console, and this is our prompts bay database that I created a little earlier. Yeah, it haven't run migrations just yet, so let's see. All right, it actually finished, and next steps would be to do db push and seed. So let's apply migrations and seed db. So while it does that, I will open my own terminal and do npm run dev so we can test. Oh, it actually started to rewrite something. Tables created. Oh, there you go. It looks similar, right? Actually, it looks very similar. There's no data just yet because the seed is being ran. Let's go to sign in. It only has sign in with Google. Yeah, which wouldn't work because I didn't add localhost 3002. So let me actually shut down my other project and restart. Yeah, I'm on localhost 3000 now. Prompts by, oh, there you go. Categories, prompts. Login redirect. Yeah, I know what's the problem, because in Stitch I have a set of redirect URLs which authenticate and callback. So as you can see here, did I get this error? But I get when signing in with Google, because Stitch allows this URL only. So I will instruct it to change a little bit how redirect is happening. All right, look, it was so quick to do it. And nope, an error. Actually, there are two issues here. Bad domain for Stitch. I think something was not enabled here. Yeah, there you go. Oh, there is a loop for login. Let's see what we have in categories in the meantime. These are our categories with emojis and the actual prompts. This is the prompt card. As you can see, it implemented it very close to how UI UX design had it. Even generated some prompts here. Open in ChatGPT. Yeah, there you go. It actually did that. Open in Claude. Yeah, even connected to Claude. This is cool. Copy URL, promptsbay.com. Okay, we don't have the domain just yet. Upvotes. Yeah, I actually don't see how I can easily upvote. Let's see if it fixed the login. Yeah, invalid session duration. I think the session duration we had was too long in the code. And let's do one more check for the mobile. I wanna see how it looks on mobile. And we will do a iPhone 14 Pro Max. Okay, this is pretty good. It looks similar to what these guys built at AI Open Library. Yeah, they spent some time on a GIF. But look, recreating this was no effort practically, no time. Yeah, you know, if you would want to build something like this and launch it, you would just need to have a really good set of prompts and just go advertise it. I think billing is no longer a question here. Signing you in. Oh, there you go. No. I think there's something still with the signing in, and we did not see. Yeah, we did not see. No, actually, yeah, it did sign me in. We did not see the upvotes. My prompts, create your first prompt. Yeah, some basic drop downs here, but still. Let's see if I actually have upvote on a prompt. I can't upvote and post comments. So not ideal, right? I don't think the functionality is fully completed. This is a solid foundation. What I should actually have done was to create a file, feedback.md, and have number one, upvote and comment are not visible on UI. Number two, login with Google had some issues. Let's document how we fix them. We add more prompts to seed. Yeah. So there were bugs. There were bugs. You see, when user logs in, it redirects to categories and then in prompt UI, user is logged out again. We should have a call to action for login in prompts page. If user is not logged in, login to comment. In the implementation plan, I added feedback.md. Review and action. Yeah, so this is the cycle. I know we are a little, it always takes a little more time during these live coding sessions, but this is how I build specs now and how I got Claude Code to implement them. I can take the exact same spec to Cursor and see how Cursor does it. Won't do it with agents, but it will still do it according to spec, maybe take a little longer time. I can do the same thing with Codex, and OpenAI really stepped up their game recently with how to build things using Codex. I could even take it to OpenClaw and say, hey, get Codex and Claude Code to do this in parallel. So yeah, you can see that my Claude is trying to assess what bugs we have and why authentication is glitching. Typical with Stitch, and I had this in the past. I actually have a piece of spec for how to properly integrate Stitch. I think Stitch should just have it on their documentation, and any LLM would pick it up much sooner. But thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed, and this inspired you to write specs instead of writing code and be a spec developer, spec engineer, rather than a coder with the language you had.